In a shining city filled with glass towers and golden lights, there lived a man named Adrian Cole. From the outside, Adrian had everything a person could dream of. He owned the largest house on the hill, drove the fastest cars, wore the most expensive watches, and traveled to places most people only saw in magazines. But every night, when the lights of the city dimmed and silence entered his mansion, Adrian felt something heavy in his chest. It was not pain. It was not fear. It was emptiness. Adrian had grown up with nothing. As a child, he had promised himself that he would never feel small again. He believed money was the answer. Success was the answer. Power was the answer. So he worked harder than anyone else. He sacrificed sleep. He sacrificed friendships. He sacrificed love. And he won. By the age of 40, Adrian was one of the most successful entrepreneurs in the country. People admired him. Business magazines wrote about him. Young dreamers called him their inspiration. Yet, deep inside, he felt like a beautifully decorated room with no furniture. Impressive from the outside, hollow within. One evening, after another award ceremony where he smiled for cameras and shook hands with important people, Adrian returned home earlier than usual. He walked into his massive living room and stared at the expensive paintings on the walls. He whispered to himself, "Why do I feel nothing?" The next morning, instead of going to his office, Adrian decided to drive without a destination. He kept driving until the tall buildings disappeared and small villages replaced them. After hours on the road, his car broke down near a quiet countryside town. Frustrated, Adrian stepped out. There was no phone signal, no assistance, no drivers, just silence. A small wooden house stood nearby. An old man was sitting outside, repairing a broken chair. Adrian walked toward him and asked for help. The old man looked up and smiled warmly. "Of course," he said. "You can wait here while I call the mechanic." Adrian sat on a simple wooden bench. The house was small, the paint slightly faded, the garden modest. Yet there was a strange peace in the air. "Do you live here alone?" Adrian asked. "Yes," the old man replied. "My wife passed away years ago. My children live in the city, but I am not alone. I have my garden, my memories, and the sky." Adrian found the answer odd. "Don't you ever wish you had more?" he asked. The old man chuckled softly. "More of what? More money? A bigger house? A better life?" The old man placed the chair down and looked at Adrian carefully. "Tell me, young man, what do you have?" Adrian almost laughed. "I have companies, investments, properties in 3 countries, influence, respect." The old man nodded. "And are you happy?" The question landed like a stone in Adrian's chest. He did not answer. The old man continued, "When I was young, I chased money too. I believed if I could earn enough, I would finally feel secure. So I worked endlessly. I became successful in my own way. But one day, my wife told me something that changed my life." "What did she say?" Adrian asked quietly. "She said, 'You are building a life outside, but you are neglecting the life inside.'" Adrian felt a chill. The old man explained, "We spend years collecting things, bigger houses, faster cars, more numbers in our bank accounts, but we forget to build patience, gratitude, love, and purpose. Without those, everything else feels empty." Adrian looked around. The old man's house had cracked walls. His clothes were simple, yet his eyes were calm. "How can you be content with so little?" Adrian asked. The old man smiled. "Because I learned the difference between wealth and richness. Wealth is what you have. Richness is who you are." Those words echoed in Adrian's mind. The mechanic arrived and fixed the car. Before leaving, Adrian asked the old man one last question. "If I feel empty, what should I do?" The old man handed him a small seed from his garden. "Plant this," he said, "but do not just plant it in the soil, plant it in your life. Every day, give something without expecting anything in return. Time, kindness, attention. See what grows." Adrian drove back to the city in silence. The next morning, instead of attending a high-level meeting, he visited one of his company's factories. For the first time, he walked among the workers without cameras or managers following him. He asked them about their families, their dreams, their struggles. He listened. That evening, he visited his younger sister, whom he hadn't seen in months because he was too busy. They had dinner together. They laughed about childhood memories. For the first time in years, Adrian felt a small spark inside him. Weeks passed. Adrian started spending one day each week mentoring young entrepreneurs, not for profit, but to guide them. He funded education programs anonymously. He spent mornings walking without his phone, noticing the sunrise he had ignored for decades. The seed was growing. One afternoon, while standing in his garden at home, Adrian realized something strange. His mansion was the same. His cars were the same. His bank account was the same. But he was different. The emptiness was fading. He understood now that his entire life had been built on achievement, not meaning. He had confused admiration with connection. He had mistaken luxury for fulfillment. Having everything had left him empty because everything only included external possessions. It did not include inner peace. It did not include love freely given. It did not include purpose beyond personal gain. Months later, Adrian returned to the countryside to visit the old man. He found him sitting in the same spot, repairing another broken object. "You planted the seed," the old man said, before Adrian even spoke. Adrian smiled. "Yes, and it changed my life." The old man nodded. "It was never about the seed. It was about attention. Whatever you give attention to grows. If you give attention only to money, money grows, but your heart shrinks. If you give attention to gratitude and service, your heart grows." Adrian looked at the sky, wide and endless above them. "I thought success would complete me," he said. "Success is a tool. It is not a destination." Adrian realized that the reason having everything left him empty was simple. He had built a palace for his body, but left his soul homeless. Inner richness does not come from what you own. It comes from who you become. It comes from waking up with gratitude instead of pressure, from building relationships instead of just networks, from giving without announcing it, from forgiving, from slowing down enough to hear your own thoughts. Years later, Adrian was still wealthy, but now he was also rich. His companies focused not only on profit, but on impact. His time was divided between business and service. He valued conversations more than contracts. He measured his life not by income, but by influence on hearts. And every night when silence filled his home, it no longer felt heavy. It felt peaceful. The city lights still shone outside his window, but now there was light inside him too. The truth is simple yet powerful. You can have everything and still feel empty if your inner world is neglected, and you can have very little yet feel full if your heart is alive. External success builds comfort. Internal growth builds fulfillment. When you chase only what the world applauds, you may gain the world but lose yourself. But when you invest in inner richness, gratitude, compassion, purpose, faith, and love, you discover a treasure that cannot be bought, stolen, or lost. Adrian once believed he needed more to feel complete. Now he knew he simply needed to become more. And that made all the difference.